The Wheelhouse podcast is here. It's live. It's loud. It's up to 22 episodes. My name's Joel Spradborough. Kate Bates. I know that you do a lot with esports and a lot with the virtual world of cycling, but you're becoming increasingly virtual and digital yourself. You're not in the bunker today. You're dialing in again.
It's less than 10% though, I reckon, Joel. So,
Okay.
it's very lonely in the bunker, isn't it?
A little bit.
When
There's
I'm
plenty
a TV
happening.
screen.
Look, we do forge on. We're 22 episodes in. We're chasing down the Simpsons mark of 734. That's the goal. We should get there sometime early next year, I'd say, at the rate we're doing them at the moment.
Yeah.
I think episode 22, like most episodes, is going to be full. And I say most, I mean all episodes is going to be full of excellent content. We've got some fun stuff coming your way. The top 5 cycling-themed cafe names around Australia. Eye-watering breakfast menu pricing and all of it. That's coming your way. Some big record tilts have happened. Some haven't gone as well. Some are on, in the planning. Crazy ambitions for some of these riders. A penchant for pain. Really looking forward to tackling that. Some big aerial expressions in Abu Dhabi. A little bit of disappointment for Australians. And the guy who plans to defy his dodgy glute to become a goat. There you go. Is that a good tagline? Defy the glute to become a goat.
I think so. And I think for viewers who are new to the podcast or listeners who are new, they're very curious about what they've just stumbled into. Welcome.
Welcome. Let's start with some sad news this week for the proud fraternity of sports journalism. We did have some news of some layoffs at 2 great cycling publications, let's be honest, Velo News and, of course, Cycling Tips. Kate, parent company Outside Magazine, had to make some tough calls, and we're just going to send some love to those who have been impacted by that, because it's never easy to read about, is it, when staff get told no more.
I reckon it's just crappy. Like we all know about economics and all that jazz, but these are some of the most brilliant minds in cycling. And, Kaylee Fritz, Matt Deneef, the Aussie who was the first employee, I think, at Cycling Tips, outside Wade Wallace. Look, I'm just putting it out there, Joel. How many seats have we got around the table in the bunker?
Got one today because you're not here, but I reckon we could fit 6 or 7, and I'd be more than happy to have them, because won't pretend that we haven't used these publications as a resource, and a wonderful one. They
might be sitting on each other's laps, but fellas, we're here if you need us. Come visit the bunker.
It's never easy to see, and it's an ongoing argument in the content machine that is global media in 2022, is that paid subscriptions and paid content are a reality, and people sometimes struggle to join the dots of why they should be paying for content. But I assure you that the work, the labour, and the love that goes into producing that content is very much worthy of the money. But the great irony of it is that people don't want to or can't afford to pay subscriptions because they're too busy spending their money on the stuff that these journalists are writing about and recommending and reviewing and all of that. It's a real difficult cycle. But my heart truly goes out to these, I'm going to call them colleagues, these journalism colleagues that are now without work, Kate.
Yes, likewise. And wherever they land, I reckon they will be a massive asset. So, and when we see them over the summer of cycling, hopefully we'll shout you fellas a coffee.
Yeah, maybe they'd turn up to the bunker every week, just saying.
To get a coffee.
Yeah. Well, just be here in the flesh.
We can put it out there.
Yeah, great.
Well, it would be lovely to see them.
No, but in all seriousness, sending love, it's always very, very, very difficult to hear about that. And I know that Outside made some efforts to try and create alternate revenue streams to make the subscription lax work, to ease the pain of that, but it just hasn't panned out. So all the best to them. Hopefully they turn up somewhere lucrative before too long. Now, the second edition of the UCI Champions League. Now, we teased it in episode 21. Now we're here in episode 22. Kate, we were so excited about Mallorca, and we've got so much more reason to be, because Matty Richardson, he's said it before, he dreams of becoming a GOAT, and he's edging closer to that goal with what I hope will continue to develop into one of the sport's great rivalries.
Yes, he's a legend. When we were talking about track worlds, where of course, he was one of the team that won the team sprint for the Aussie men. And then he did get beaten in the individual sprint. There was a fantastic image of him on the floor, almost as though he'd probably just vomited in something and couldn't get up. Such was the effort. Yeah. It's very glamorous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he's gone to the Champions League, and the sprinters are the big ticket item there because it's so entertaining to watch these, one-on-one match sprints. And normally outside Olympics and Commonwealth Games, Aussies don't really get too much exposure to this. But SBS is showing all of the Champions League, so you can dial in between your World Cup football matches, soccer for anybody who might be critical of calling it football, and watch every piece of action on this. Now, he beat the incumbent world champion, the Dutchman Harry Laverson, who has just been dominant for years in the individual sprint. And Joel, he reckons he did it just by trying something different. He thought he's got nothing to lose. He always gets beaten by him to date. So he put out a new tactic and, mic drop, boom.
Kaboom. Yeah.
On his way.
I love it when an athlete makes a little tinker, changes it up, just a slight little adjustment to how you do things, and it pays dividends. And this came just a month after a bit of a drubbing from Laverson. I got to say, it's a nickname that gets dished out quite a bit to athletes from the Netherlands who are fast, but this guy earns the Flying Dutchman in every single sense. He's an incredible, incredible athlete, a two-time Olympic champion as well, and he's been untouchable. So this is a massive win. And I got to say, not only how good is Matty Richardson, Kate, but a real purple patch for the Aussies on the track. We've seen it in the last little while. What does it all come down to, in your view?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've got some really impressive coaching and science behind the coaching now. It's, I think in the olden days, sprinting was a little bit of a blunt instrument. You had these big burly sprinters who were just so big and powerful that they outmuscled each other. It's a lot more about tactics now. I love that Matty Richardson actually talks through what he did out on the track to give us a bit more of an idea. So I want to read one of the quotes, because usually they just say, yeah, I felt good, and that's, about as interesting as it gets. But he said, sorry about that impression there. I kind of surprise myself sometimes. I feel like the gear is big and I've got it too slow, and then a bit of seated power or out of the saddle, and it kind of gets going really well. Now, what I took out of that is that he's actually talking to us about the gears he uses, the tactics he uses, what he's finding is working and not. It's a lot more analytical, the way that they're even talking about it, which shows that they're thinking about it. There's so much strategy that goes out on track. And I think, Lynn Munro leading the sprinters program, kudos to her. We always give her kudos because she's just done some incredible work. But I think she's really made these athletes think a lot more about every single piece of sprinting they do, not just about being strong and powerful and fast. That is one element of it. But once they're all out on the track, they're all big and strong and fast, Joel. So they've got to do something different. So good on him for giving it a crack.
Yeah, beautifully said. And it's hyper competitive. Obviously, the margins are narrow, so finding any kind of edge, any inch, any hundredth of a second that you can, that's obviously what they're focusing on. And I love how tuned, as you say, how tuned in the athletes are. And we've spoken about this before. Jay Vine as well is another example of athletes that are becoming data hungry. They're analytical, as you say. It's good to see, because it's sometimes like, the sport's going to get bogged down in number crunching and money ball and all that kind of thing. But I'm happy. I'm happy if we're winning gold medals. That's okay. I can live with it.
Yeah, I'm happy with that too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
who not? I mean, we're a little bit biased for the Aussies, but good to see anybody producing the results.
Yeah, most.
And we've got to talk about the Indian contingent, Joel, because it's the first time we've ever seen an Indian athlete in the Champions League and the top level of cycling. They made history a few years ago as in the Junior World Championships, where the sprint team won the team sprint, and that's the first time we've ever seen India take a World Championship gold medal. But Esau Alban is their kind of big up and coming. He's 23 years of age, and he's absolutely slaying it. How good is it to see some of these less traditional cycling nations come out on top as well?
Well, can you imagine if these kind of examples, he's had some success. He's had some success at the Junior Worlds in 2018. He's got a gold, 2 silver and a bronze from junior championships. He's a young fella from the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Can you imagine if his example and continued success catches on in India? Can you imagine if they start bulk cycling and start producing champions? Look out, world, is all I'll say.
Geez, they got a talent pool. Oh, and we came across him. We were such big fans. When I say we, I mean Scott McGrory and myself at the Commonwealth Games, commentating on the Indian team. His teammates in the team sprint was Ronaldo and David Beckham. I'm not even kidding, and that is their real names. And they were named as such because their parents were very big sporting fans and wanted to give them names that, you know, might help them emulate the success of the people they found heroes. So I thought that was really cool. I mean, it was cool to kind of comment on Ronaldo and David Beckham as well. But more than that, I thought that was like quite a cool kind of long-term plan, right? Having a newborn and giving them a name like that, hoping that that's where they'll be in their adulthood.
Well, Ronaldo, it still retains a bit of like his surname. I think it's Ronaldo Singh, whereas Beckham, it's just it's just David Beckham. His name's David Beckham. That's just it.
Well, if your parents were naming you, Joel, what do you reckon you would have ended up as?
Joel Presley.
Joel. Excellent. I think I would have been. I could have ended up as Peter Frampton because, you know, Peter can be a woman's name as well, of course.
Yes. Okay. No, I think mine is actually Billy Joel. I think I have been told that before that something might have happened. A Billy Joel song might have been playing. Anyway, I don't want to create those.
I don't know how we just went from like high value athletes to singers.
And
just like that.
But and to images of my parents conceiving 30, 40 odd years ago. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
That's a move on moment.
It's a good thing. Congratulations to East Album in the Kieran. As well as where else is he competing, Kate? He's doing the Kieran and the sprint events. Basically, look. Congratulations, and as I say, look out if it catches on in India because I'll tell you what, cricket caught on over there, and that's worked out pretty well for them.
Well, it could be very good for the sport. Like, let's pause for a second. If they fall in love, the Indians, with cycling like they have with cricket, like, watch out. You know, that's where all the money is and the commercial backing, and there could be something in this.
It could be massive.
I'm seeing a
for the
Bollywood
sport.
film. There could be, because cricket has a long-standing history with Bollywood as well.
Okay.
So
I'm going to audition to play David Beckham in the Bollywood movie. I'm going to give it a go.
Right. Or Billy Joel.
Well, yeah. But no, honestly, it's massive. And as you say, the money that it could be. Anyway, we're speculating, but it could be massive for the sport on the Wheelhouse podcast. Now, let's get aerial, Kate Bates, and go to Abu Dhabi. So we were talking about the Urban Cycling Worlds last week, the BMX event. We were getting excited about a very dear mate of the Wheelhouse, Logan Martin. Now, not Logan's day over there, but we saw some extraordinary output, I got to say. On a quick mention of Rims Nakamura from Japan, takes out his first ever BMX world title, does it in style. But the big mention here has to be Hannah Roberts from America, fourth title. She's 21. She's won 4 world titles.
Yeah, she is so impressive. She was second at the Olympics, though. So even though she is kind of looked at as the absolute GOAT in women's freestyle BMX, she fell short at the Olympics, and I know that hurt her a lot. She's come from, she's had some pretty big comebacks, Joel. Like, she broke her back in 2012, went off a 6-foot ramp at the wrong angle. I understand now. I'm making it sound like I know all these BMX terms. I can tell you I've had a bit of a Google, and I might throw some at you to see if you think they're actually BMX tricks or something instead. But Hannah Roberts is super impressive, and I think she's just absolutely paving the way. We've got an Aussie, Natalia Deem, who rode the Olympics in that competition, and she talks about Hannah Roberts like she just watches her and learns just the incredible skills that she manages. So good on her. And Rim Nakamura, like, has he not got like a cycling made name, like with Rim?
I love
like
it.
This is becoming a real thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's emerging.
Yep. Look, he posted a 93.8 on his opening run. Like, talk about throwing down the gauntlet. That was enough. No one caught him. He started off with a bar spin, tuck, no-hander, 720 rotation with 720. So a bar spin, tuck, no hander with 700. Easy. I do them in my
I'm
sleep.
just disappointed he didn't do a toboggan. Yeah.
Okay.
Or a fun box jump.
Yes. Well, the tricks are incredible. Hannah Roberts, a bar spin black backflip. She got 87.2 for her victory. That's confidence. You have to back yourself in BMX because if you don't, you're probably going to break your neck and you're not going to win tournaments. Let's be completely honest. Charlotte Worthington, obviously reigning Olympic champion. She was down in 5th for Britain. Not her best day. Logan Martin, 6th in the men. So he managed an 86.4 in his second run. Now, I don't want to be alarmist, but I will. He got a 45.9 in his first, Kate Bates. What do we think of that?
Oh, I think it's an all or nothing kind of thing. Like, you know, half of the time when they aren't having good runs, they just pull the pin and move on. So I wouldn't be too alarmed. He's our boy, Joel. Come on, we got to back him.
Yeah, no, I back him to the hilt. Absolutely. I was just ready. I was waiting to read about it when it happened. I was like, okay, so Logan Martin wins again. Logan Martin didn't win again. What's going on? I have to ask Kate. And thank you for putting my mind at ease. So we're not worried.
We're not worried.
Good.
We're not worried at all. I think he might need a few new tricks though. So I've gone looking for a few tricks, Joel, that he might be able to conjure up.
Please.
And I just want to play a bit of a game with you. I'm going to give you some names of BMX tricks, and I want you to tell me whether they're BMX tricks or they're made up.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yep. Great,
okay.
Let's do it.
All right. The first one is a donkey hop bar spin.
A donkey hop, I'm sure, is a real trick.
It isn't.
Oh,
it isn't.
I've heard donkey
Good
hop.
start.
Yeah, right.
No, it's a bunny hop. I don't know if donkeys hop,
I
but
thought
bunnies
donkey hop was
so
hopping on anyway. Okay, yeah. One down.
No. Right. Okay. The truck driver.
The truck. I don't know. Yes, that's real.
Yes. The truck driver is real. It is a 360-degree rotation with bar spin while in the air.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
Okay,
You got it.
Sounds easy. Yeah.
Okay. So the next one is the ninja fakie.
Fakie. I know a fakie's definitely a ninja fakie. I'm going to say yes again.
No, but a fakie is real. A fakie is riding with your back facing forward. So,
yes.
Right.
Yes,
right.
I
So
say
you turned
confidently
around.
as though
right.
I know, but I don't.
And the other one is a ninja drop. So I kind of tricked you there by combining them. A ninja drop is a jump from feet holding the bike over the drop and placing yourself on the bike while in the air. I don't even know how to comprehend that, let alone put it out there. Okay, here's the final one for you, Joel. The full cab.
The full cab. I thought you were going to say the full cav. It's like a tribute to Mark Cavendish.
There should be that too. No,
the full cab, I'm going to say no.
It is. Oh. The full cab is an exit from a fakie by performing a 360-degree rotation backed on your rear wheel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure, that sounds like how you describe something called a full cab. I feel like I'm back in grade 9 doing my maths exam and guessing and getting all the questions wrong. Incredible.
Well, there you go. Look, we've learnt a little bit and we've got the summer to perfect our skills.
Get down to the bike bowl and practice. You can jump on our socials, have a look at some of the images. I just love it. Every great, you're not a great BMX image unless you are suspended upside down several meters above concrete.
I think when you look at the socials we'll put up, you'll probably think, oh, they put that one upside down. No. That's just BMX Freestyle.
Yeah, no photoshopping, no rotating imaging happening here. That's just what they do. Congratulations. Look, Rim, as you say, Nakamura, a beautiful, beautiful effort for him. And Hannah Roberts, 4 titles at 21, 2017, 2019, 2021. Silver at the Olympics, as you said, but then made up for that with another world title.
Well, and this was the qualifying for Paris 2024 as well. Yeah. So it is an important one for the athletes.
What does that mean for Logan finishing in 6th? Do you know?
Oh, that's fine. That's will be more than sufficient for him. But there might be a few other nervous ones out there, I reckon.
This is the Wheelhouse Podcast. My name's Joel Spreadborough, joined by virtual Kate Bates, dialing into the bunker today. Now, I know that you love this. You're heavily involved in your virtual form. 5 of the 50 spots that were up for grabs at the Esports World Championships in February via the Oceania Continental Qualifiers went to Aussies. Now, the Oceania Continental Qualifiers, let's just call them the Contis because it's a hell of a mouthful. So we went to the Contis. I love the setup of this because it's 3 pretty short, explosive events. It's kind of an all-round test, a similar format to what we'll see at the Champs in February. There's nothing that's not tested, Kate. It's a great way to appraise these athletes.
It is. The Aussies absolutely killed it. So we got an extra 2 places in the women. So the women's team, we can now have up to 6 athletes represent Australia. And in the men, we got 3 spots. So we can now have an extra 4 because Jay Vine as world champion gets an automatic qualification. And what was so impressive was how Zwift have now gamified it a ton. So I'll take you into that, Joel, because it is so different. The 3 different races, it's not that the first over the line in each race qualifies or, the top 10 go through. So, for example, it was the first rider over the KOM in the middle of the race or with a couple of kilometres left to go in the first race, got the qualification spot.
Okay.
And then in the second race, it was the first over the line. But then in the third race, it was the first through different intermediate sprint points. And so it had something for everyone, for the sprinters, for the climbers who could still qualify and go through to the next round and get those automatic spots. But it also meant that the athletes, it's not just enough to be kind of lungs on bikes now. They actually really have to know how the game works and the strategy within it. So it was really cool. And Australia qualified, I think my new favourite esports rider is a fella from Mackay, which is in tropical North Queensland. Joel, for anybody who isn't familiar with where Mackay is, and his name's Kyle Marwood. And I've watched him race on the NRS esports scene, and he's an absolute animal. Like, he just blows my mind, the amount of watts he throws out. And it's comparable to some of the big international sprinters when it just comes down to pure grunt at the end of a race.
Yeah.
But through the year, I've watched him really learn the craft of Zwift racing.
Yep.
And it's so cool. So now we're seeing some domestic-based riders who are taking the time to learn the game, and they're then finding themselves in contention to be at the Rider World Championships. It's so cool. It's such a direct pathway. And the other one on the men's side is a fella by the name of Josh Harris.
Yeah.
Now, watch this space for him. He's a marathon runner, and a couple of years ago was winning marathons.
Yeah.
He's used cycling for training. He is absolutely slaying it as well. And we've talked a lot in the past about Zwift Academy and how that's been this incredible talent pathway for athletes to get signed to pro contracts. Of course, Jay Vine being the most obvious one. But I don't even think it'll need Zwift Academy for some of these riders to really attract some attention, because as part of my role with esports for Oz Cycling, I've taken a deep dive into all of these athletes' powers and performances. And Josh Harris, he should be high on the list of any talent scouts for World Tour teams. So it's really cool. I'm just getting so excited by it. I think they're having a lot of fun with it, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
And the course, the World Championships course, is due for release in a few weeks. It's going to be something new, something different. But what I'm loving about even these qualifiers is that there's something new in all of these as well, and they're designed for engagement. They're designed for fans to get behind them and enjoy, which seems to be happening as well. Josh Harris, as you mentioned, Torben Partridge Madsen, Kyle Marwood, Justine Barrow, and Vicky Whitelaw. Watch those names. Watch this space. It's extraordinary how much it's just capturing the imagination. It truly is.
It is. Well, Vicky Whitelaw's got to be one of the world's most experienced esport racers, and so it'll be really exciting to have her kind of leading the Australian team. I won't preempt the selections because I'm not on the selection committee.
Yeah, sure.
But if they do choose her, then I think that would be a pretty excellent move. So yeah, it's kind of cool. We've got to get you on there, Joel. I reckon that you'd be a bit of a Watmonts to yourself.
I'd just live for it. I discovered a love of cycling on the stationary bike. Yes,
I have had my bike in the bunker to do some Zwift events, to host some Zwift events. And I reckon we could pop the bike in the bunker too. Maybe we could do an episode where you're, trundling around Watopia.
What am I getting
episode.
myself into? Sign me. I'm just going to say, sign me up, Kate. Let's do it. Oh, that'll be an interesting day. Look, I love the world spread. There's 10 from the US, 8 from Britain. Aussie is the next highest in the selections from these qualifiers, then Switzerland with 3. So you can see it's developing more, I guess, slowly in some nations, but there is a genuine global feel. As you say, we're seeing some genuine stars emerge. A lot of talk about the pathways. It's exciting. It's very exciting. So
it is very exciting.
Speaking of excitement, I want to talk about something that was excitement, just excitement personified, but hasn't panned out as well. I want to talk about Tegan Phillips from South Africa. Now, she embarked on, I guess, what you might call a bit of a trundle, Kate, a lazy Sunday ride from Cairo to Cape Town. Now, it's a very famous ride across Africa. Scotsman Mark Beaumont, of course, set the men's record in 2015. Now, these are numbers that make me just want to go and have a lie down. 10,863 kilometres in 41 days across 8 countries. Now, Tegan Phillips that's quite inspiring. Any athlete or any person would be like, wow, that's incredible. She's like, wait a minute, that's really good. Yeah, there's a men's world record. Is there a women's one? Gets on the phone to Guinness and says, oh, hello, is there a women? And they said, no, there's not. And she basically says, hold my beer, and lines up to do it, Kate.
She is so cool, this chick, Tegan Phillips. I discovered her actually not because of her bike riding feats, which are epic, PS, but because she's a comic, and not as in a stand-up comic, but she draws comics.
Yeah.
And incredible. They're so funny. I will find my best ones and share them with people because she's just got the best sense of humor. She's a TED talker, an inspirational talker. A lot of the events she's done over the years have been to raise money for women's things, to get bikes for girls, all that sort of stuff. So she's just a hardcore cool chick. But she didn't just like wake up one day and think, oh, cool, I'm going to be hardcore. She grew up doing this, Joel. When she was a kid, she rode around Africa with her mother, father, and sisters. And as a family, 11,000 K, went on a cruise. Like, it's just incredible what she's done, the adventures that she's had with her family. And I think that has only spurred her on to bigger things. She did a 2,200 kilometre triathlon around New Zealand.
25 days, no less. That's a 25-day triathlon.
Pretty incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. She also did a 2,800 kilometre ride. She did that in 10 days. So that's, pretty impressive to do that.
I love the family holiday thing. Like, some families go to the beach. Yeah. The Phillips is like, you know what, kids, get your bikes. Let's go for an 11,000 K bike ride this Christmas.
It's just really, really cool. And look, unfortunately, she did a lot of training, so that's not the unfortunate. That was unfortunate how I used unfortunate there.
An unfortunate amount of unfortunates.
Sorry, Tegan. But she has, a few days into the adventure, she's gotten quite unwell and had a couple of seizures and found herself in the ICU hospital. Her team was absolutely amazing supporting her.
Yep.
But it turns out that she's got a bit of an issue with her electrolyte balance.
Yep.
And they're not sure why. So she was hoping she'd be able to saddle back up and get on with it. But she's been advised by her medical team that she will have to have a whole battery of tests to see why this is happening.
Yep.
It's never come up in any of her other epic adventures, but it's not something to do with how she's eaten or her hydration or anything like that. Her body is just not holding the right electrolyte balance, which is, really messing with her. So we are just sending our absolute best to her. I hope that she can bounce back from this and get out there again. Because Joel, like, honestly, we'll put it in the show notes, but her website, teganphillips.com, if you want a bit of inspo, go on there and see the incredible things she does. Some of her adventures she did a big one called Shiva-resting. Do you know what Everesting is?
That's her.
So
her
Everesting
cause, her charity.
the Shiva-resting is, but just Everesting is this like thing that cyclists decided to do where they climbed the height of Mount Everest in vertical meters by going up and down one chosen climb until they hit it.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a thing. I mean, you got to be, a little bit
it sounds
cray in the head, like Tom Dumoulin reckons. But it's a thing. And so she decided during COVID that she would do it with women because it's less frequented by the women. Yeah. And they headed out to one of the nastiest hills where they lived and went up and down until they hit the virtual, 8,440. Is that what it is? Something like that. A lot of Everest.
Yeah.
And with all the ladies, they called it Shiva-resting.
Shiva-resting. I love that. That's fantastic. She's all about the cause. She wanted to raise money. She wanted to donate 100 bikes to women in Cape Town. She has done this before when she did the New Zealand effort. She donated a whole heap of bikes to schoolgirls from Africa as well. She's all about building pathways and recognition for women's sport. Hence the old, okay, that's great. There's a men's record. Let's go and forge another one. Sadly, only got 599 kilometres in. It was the second evening, and as you say, electrolyte abnormalities, heat stroke. The kind of endurance athlete where if you get something like that, you definitely do need to get off the bike. This is very, very serious business. So hopefully she's okay. In her stead, Kate, we can do this ride. Of course, it is a tourist attraction. Probably not the full 10,800 kilometres. It's a slightly shorter course. We can do it in 100 days, and it only costs $18,900 per person. And I got to say, that's not bad for an 8-country trip. So you get Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, Botswana, and South Africa for just the low price of $20,000 odd and a lot of pain, a lot of sore glutes. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Well, I reckon that it's cheaper than Ghana's 3D printed bike. So
slightly.
Could be one to do.
Let's stay on records on the Wheelhouse podcast because your mate Lachlan Morton, who continues to inspire, has chanced upon his next massive distance challenge. It wasn't him that revealed it, though. It was his EF Education Easy Post boss, Jonathan Vorters, who said he's pretty keen, just quietly, Lachy Morton's pretty keen to take on, again, Mark Beaumont's world circumnavigation record, which is just a lazy 78 days, 14 hours and 40 minutes for 29,000 kilometres around the world. What is this all about? He says, look, it's not going to happen for a while, but what's going through your head when you line up for that?
Well, Beaumont, he was also the record that Tegan Phillips was chasing. So we've got a bit of a theme here. I think he's going to be next on our Let's See If We Can Talk to Him list. This is a really epic adventure. There's some rules around it, though. Like the rules say that it has to be a continuous in one direction, like whether you start east-west or west-east. Doesn't matter. And the minimum distance has to be 29,000 kilometres.
Okay.
So it has to exceed the length of the equator, right?
Yeah.
The total distance. It's pretty epic.
I love that they've worked this out, by the way. It's like this.
Oh my God. I know, right? Well, I fell in love with the Ewan McGregor and Charlie Bulling when they did it on motorbikes, right? But to do this on a push bike is pretty epic. We know Lachy Morton has done some incredible things, though. He has literally raised hundreds and hundreds of thousands of euros for good causes. And I think that it's not just about him wanting to do these epic adventures. It's all about him contributing to make the world a better place in the only way he really knows how. And I will say that the reason that we love Lachy Morton so much is because he's such an incredibly talented athlete. And a lot of people, he was world tour. A lot of people said he's wasting his talent by doing these other things and not focusing on things like the Tour de France.
Yep.
He just wanted none of it. For him, it is just about loving what he does. And thanks to the fact that his brother is in media, he's a producer, director at the ABC last time I heard.
Yep.
They've also been able to create some of the most beautiful content around what he does.
Yep.
And I think that's helped everybody really fall in love with what he's doing. So it's delayed because of what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, but I'll be following, dot watching. That's what they call it, Joel, when you follow somebody
Yes.
who's,
Well, I was
little
following
GPS
Tegan
dot.
Phillips's dot, and unfortunately it came to a halt 600k south of Cairo. But I got to say, this guy, Lachy Morton, he only started 5 races this year. He's very much becoming one of those full-time heroic adventure type figures. I'm talking like
I love it.
A candidate for a figurine, a toy. You'd make a toy of him. You'd make a video game about him.
That's okay.
When Beaumont did it, he started in Paris and he had to go across Russia to get to Asia, and that's a prohibitive thing to do at the moment. So Lachy has said, look, it's not going to happen next year. Very much watch this space, but he's made his intentions clear. He does it for beautiful causes and beautiful reasons, as you say. I can't wait to see it. 29,000 Ks.
I can't wait to see it, yeah.
As you do. Now, another friend of the Wheelhouse podcast is the great Ben O'Connor, the pride of the West. Now, he has gleaned some positive perspective from the glute tear that tore up his Tour de France ambitions this year. He basically came out this week and says, you know what? That aside, I took a massive step up this year. I tend to agree with him. I think he had a fantastic year. A couple of wins. Top 10 in Vuelta as well, breaking on his fourth in the Tour last year. This is a man on the up, Kate Bates.
He is, and if he can, keep that glute healthy, I genuinely don't think we've ever spoken or could really ever speak about somebody's buttocks quite as much as we have with Ben O'Connor. But and I gotta say, I'm a little bit socially awkward, Joel. You just know that when I see him at the Tour Down Under, I'm going to say something like, "Hi, Ben, nice to see you. How's your butt?"
How's
or
your
something
bum,
like
Ben?
that.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be really careful on that. No, he's had a fantastic season in terms of development, and you need to look at where he's come from. He's still learning how to ride at World Tour races, what his body needs, what his mind needs, all of it. Like, good on him. He's got a really good attitude. We love him. He'll remain a favourite, I think, of the
what I love
Wheelhouse.
about him? As we say, a couple of results this year. He wins in Catalonia, the Tour de Jour, the one-day race there, but he also had top 10s left, right and centre. What I love about it the most is he is absolutely frothing about the Tour next year. He is so excited, Kate Bates. He's one of the few. So many have come out and said, the course, 22Ks a time. I don't know about this. He's just like, bring it. Cannot wait to tackle the Tour next year. I love that attitude. That's so Aussie.
I love
it's
it.
So good.
I do.
And you know what?
Yeah, I do. Now, I did notice that he also said, Joel, this was a big thing for me about the glute injury. It always goes back to the glute,
to
right?
the butt, yeah.
But
there's a big butt here, Kate. What is it?
A leg strength imbalance of around 8%. Because your glutes are so important.
Sure.
Biggest muscle in your body in driving power on the bike. And so for him, that's actually meant that he's had to very purposefully go back and look at the strength of each leg, your pedaling style, all of it. Sometimes those little things can take you a huge step forward because until it breaks, it doesn't get fixed, so to speak. So, his butt could end up really being his strength. Okay, we've got to move on. I can't keep doing this.
I can't wait to see you and you have an encounter with Ben O'Connor and go, hey, but sorry, I didn't mean to say but. Sorry, but. And he's like, why? I don't care. I'm not offended. It's like, anyway, now, Kate, this is really exciting. So cyclists and cafes go hand in hand, like spaghetti and meatball. I don't know, whatever you want to say. You've done some work. I've got a few. This is great. So the top 5 cafe names is our special top 5 this week on the Wheelhouse podcast.
Yes.
Now, let's get straight into it. You've gone, look, I love Brisbane. I love Queensland. It seems to be the capital of cycling cafes is my first observation on this list.
Yes. Well, so my criteria, to be clear, it's not the best cycling cafe as, voted by people or my own experience. What it is the best cycling themed name of a cafe, right?
Okay.
So you may be listening thinking, oh, no, this place is awesome. Cool. If they haven't gone to the effort of giving it a cycling themed name,
forget about it. You're out.
Sorry, they can do better. Forget about it.
Yep.
And it just happens that Queenslanders really get on board with the naming of their cycling cafes. Around the country, elsewhere, they're trying to be a bit clever, but
didn't work out.
They're not really. No. So 4 out of our 5 are in Queensland, and that is because of Queenslanders. It is not a
we love a
bias
good
on my
pun.
part.
We love a good pun, and all
right.
the cafes around the country are now on notice because you've missed out on the top 5. I'm just saying, what is that going to do for business?
Yes.
Probably have zero effect whatsoever. But anyway, you're on notice.
Yep. So we're going to start in Paddington with Tandem Co. Like, come on. Tandem bike, you get it? Tandem?
I get it. I like it. This is just outside Brisbane
cool.
City for those listening overseas. So Brisbane being the capital of Queensland. Not to be confused with Brisbane in San Francisco, by the way, the sister city that's over there. Tandem Co.
but
in Paddington.
bit of inspo for San Francisco. Now, they said they wanted to give cyclists a place to meet and refuel, to offer great coffee, quick feeds. How good is that?
Yep.
So they grew from based as a cafe. They then now offer bike servicing and that.
I love that.
First came the cafe. I love it. And my absolute favorite, and this is a big up, Joel. Avo toast.
Yes.
$5.50.
$5.50?
$5.50. $5.50 for avocado on toast.
Get right out of town, Kate Bates. That is extraordinary pricing in this era that we live in, where avocado and taking it out and mashing it with a spoon adds $100 to its value, just like that. That is fantastic. Yes. I want to say I haven't been there, so I'm going to say I'm excited to go there, and thank you to them for the well-priced avo on toast. So what's next? What's number 2?
All right. So next we have Musette.
Been here.
Which is, of course, the bag. The feed bag that the athletes get in race.
Yep.
So it's not just a cycling theme. It's like a lovely international feel to it. That's in Bowen Hills, pardon me. That is also in Brisbane, very central in Brisbane.
Okay.
And they say that above all, Musette is a meeting place for friends of cycling and lovers of coffee. And drum roll, $6 avo on toast.
Yeah, $6. I saw that. And you know what else they have? They have a $14 eggs Benny, which is pretty competitive.
Ooh.
If you want it with salmon, it's only going to cost you $19. So I think that's pretty good. Musette will soon be your favourite meeting place, whether you're on or off the bike. And I'm glad they clarified that, because it's tough to put down an eggs Benny when you're also sitting on a bike. So good to know. And that's our number 2. What's number 3? We're going to stay in Brisbane.
All right. Now, number 3, we are going for the Peddler.
The Peddler Cafe in Brisbane.
Peddler.
Well, I think this is close to my favourite name. I love the Peddler.
I'm actually not loving the order I've done this in, because I reckon Peddler could be at the top of the list. But we'll just say our top 5 and put them in any order.
We had some order issues last episode as well, Kate Bates.
We did. I need to note this down. So the Peddler coffee, they are located in Milton. That was their home base. They've also now got another one in Morningside and also in Nunda.
Yep.
They're bike-friendly cafe, and they say they encourage the Brisbane cycling community to consider them as a clubhouse.
I love that.
For their post-ride brew. I love that. And of course, they also have gone on to provide all of these other services with neighbouring businesses. So the Peddler, not the coffee version, just the Peddler Bike Shop, is next door. It was started by Australia's favourite, now Kiwi, Brisbane Australian, Jordan Kirby.
Yep, okay.
He is a gold medalist at the World Championships. He went and rode for New Zealand, which is a bit of a shame, but he's back in Brisbane. He started this. He has an excellent coaching business. Hello, JK, we love you, and fantastic coffee going on there. I'm going to move right on and move out of Queensland. We're heading down south, Joel. We're going to Victoria, a southeastern state of Australia, to the Warburton Trail, which is this fantastic rail trail, very good for the mountain bikers.
Locals call it the Warby Trail.
The Warby, yes. And they are just known, the Cog Bike Cafe, as the place along the trail to go. Now, I couldn't find any reference to avo toast, so we might need to give them a call.
Okay, that's okay.
If they didn't have the history of being such a well-known and loved bike cafe with such a great name, Cog, we'd pick them up on that. But
they're on the list. Menu pending.
They're on the list.
Yep. Okay. Now the next one, I love this. We're going to go back to Queensland, to the Gold Coast, the beautiful Gold Coast, which is about an hour south of Brisbane, or half an hour if you're Tegan, Phillips, or Lachy, Morton on the bike.
Yes.
I like this name too, the Cadence Cafe.
It's a good one, right?
It's not
Cadence.
bad.
I like it.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful place. They also say that they've got bike racks out there and they encourage all the cyclists around to use it as a little bit of a clubhouse. That's what I'm loving, like the social vibe.
They're all hubs. It's great.
Yes, well, there you go. But a little bit of a downside, Joel. $15.90 for their smashed avocado.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that they've got like some dukkha on the top or something fancy in there to justify that.
Yeah, you know what? If that's out of your price range for a smashed avo, you can get Cadence rustic beets for $17.50. So a couple of dollars extra for some rustic beets. There you go.
Now, instead of just winding up here, there's a dishonourable mention. Joel.
Yeah.
And this is a cafe. Now, when I was doing my research, I happened upon this cafe and I thought, oh, I'm not sure about this name, a little bit negative Nancy. But the more I deep dived, in fact, it's got nothing to do with cycling. It's called Bicycle Thieves.
I know. Really interesting name based on exactly that, the thieving of bicycles.
Yes, it was a 1948 movie where an unemployed man had his bike stolen in Rome. It's in Northcote in Victoria, in Melbourne, and it's for the Italians in the region, and I get it, but $23 for avo and toast at Bicycle Thieves. So they're not just stealing your bikes, they're stealing your hard-earned dollars.
Stop that right now. $23 for the old avo toast.
$23.
For those listening overseas,
dishonourable mention for them.
Please still visit Australia. Avos do not represent the economy over here. You can buy food that's cheaper and delicious. $23 for avo toast is daylight robbery.
Well, and just quietly, I think it's also worth reminding people that avo is avocado.
Yeah, that's good too. Yeah,
sorry,
nature's butter they call it. Nature's butter.
Avocado, yes.
Cafes have really.
We have an obsession. For avocado, smushed up, smashed up, crushed up,
and priced
whatever you want to call it.
Priced up.
I've
got one,
toast.
Kate. I've got one. I'm going to open one probably in Brisbane as well. And I'm just workshopping a name. I'm going to call it the damp chamois.
Okay.
Do you think people would come where we could compare chamois and stories of sore glutes and that kind of thing? Will that work?
No.
Okay. Back to the drawing board.
No. Look, I think that you could work on that.
Okay, I consider it.
It's not even a good name for a documentary, let alone
the damp chamois
cafe.
The damp chamois. The padded chamois.
That's maybe a bit better. I do want to put the shout out to people that there are the most amazing bike cafes in Australia. But if your name doesn't, suggest that you're supportive of the mammals or whatever, they're not going to flock.
Yep, I like it. Now let's on the Wheelhouse podcast, Kate, a little special element to finish episode 22, In Pursuit of the Simpsons 734. Now, we've spoken a bit about the women's side of the sport. Incredible inspiration set by the likes of Tegan, Phillips and some of the extraordinary athletes that we see doing extraordinary things. But you're throwing some light on the fact that the sport is growing at an exponential rate and it's seeing more interest, more eyeballs right around the world.
Yes, we have had a study come out of the UK this week talking about how many fans are now following exclusively women's sport. We had a bit of an experience in the Oceania region last week with the women's rugby, Joel, because Eden Park was sold out for their final. 50,000 fans went to watch the women. Absolutely incredible.
Yep.
And so some of these numbers from the UK, 17 million people watching the women's Euro final. So that's football, soccer. And in the UK, cycling, they've said, is one of the female sports with the most loyal fan base and a 19% increase year on year for people following that.
Yep.
And there's up to 9 million people who regularly watch the popular women's sports in the UK, including cycling. That's just massive. Like, it's just a game changer from where we were. And I just think it's such a feel-good, exciting thing when you know that women's sport is now just turning into sport. Yeah, it doesn't have to be 100%. Women's sport. It's not men's, women's. It's just there's incredible sport on TV. The UK is a leading market in sport and in sport research, and often it's the base for a lot of trends. So I reckon,
I love
the Aussies need to get on board, Joel.
We're living in an era where gender, race, identity doesn't need to be prefaced by title. You're just people, you're just sport, and that's how it should be. It's fantastic to see, and as I say, we've got so many good examples. And another, also in the Europe at the moment, Australia and New Zealand will be facing off in the Rugby League Women's World Cup final as well, which has been an extraordinary tournament. It's just, as you say, multiple sports, cricket, tennis. I don't want to get into tennis because I'll get sad about Ash Barty's retirement. But anyway, it's good to see, and it's great to. That's big growth. 19% year on year is massive, and as we say, with the calendar set the way it is, coming up with another Fem next year, and the likes of Annemiek going for the Triple Crown again, those eyeballs are only going to keep growing. So it's fan-bloody-tastic, Kate Bates.
Indeed, yes, it is, and a good high point to finish on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been fun not having your company, but thank you for dialing into the Bunker on the Wheelhouse podcast, and congratulations on 22 episodes to you.
Yeah, look at us. We will be Seinfeld in our rear window before we know it, or Friends or Frasier, whichever we were aiming for.
Frasier's more realistic because Frasier's 264, I think. I think we're within spitting distance of that. But look, thank you for your company.
We're nearly at 10%.
Please like, share, subscribe, jump onto our socials. We're everywhere that you find your good podcasts, and it's been an absolute privilege sharing some shit talk with you. We'll do it all again very, very soon. The Wheelhouse is produced by River City Studios for Listener. Executive produced by Luke Mears and the mysterious Merksy. It's written and hosted by Kate Bates and me, Joel Spreadborough.